You've been led to believe a lie so deeply ingrained that it passes unnoticed through your life. The notion that certain events simply happen by chance, that life is ruled by randomness, that outcomes are determined solely by probability and meaningless odds. But somewhere inside, you've always suspected there was more. You felt it. Those moments that seem too deliberate to chalk up to accident, too purposeful to be born from mere statistics. Times when a particular number keeps appearing wherever your gaze lands. A phone call comes the instant you think of someone. A line in a song meets you at the precise second your heart needs to hear it. You've dismissed these moments again and again because you've been conditioned to. You've been taught that nothing deeper moves beneath the surface of what you see. That reality is inert and indifferent. But that teaching is wrong, and the signs have been trying to tell you so all along. What you've labeled as coincidence isn't the random noise of an uncaring universe. These experiences are messages. They are markers, deliberate nudges from something vast and intelligent, reaching through the ordinary to touch your awareness. This isn't an invitation into superstition or fantasy. This is about perceiving life as it truly is, alive, aware, constantly speaking to you. The real question is whether you are prepared to hear it now. As a child, you weren't blind to meaning. You possessed a natural openness to wonder. You saw shapes in the clouds, faces in the shadows, patterns that stirred a deep sense of awe. Timing struck you as magical. You trusted your instincts without requiring permission or proof. But as you grew, that sensitivity was buried. You were slowly taught to stop seeing the world through a lens of magic and intuition. You were told to favor what could be measured and explained. You learned to silence the part of you that sensed the unspoken. The culture you were raised in worships logic and prizes control. It holds up scientific method as the sole arbiter of what is real. And so you are told that signs and meanings are illusions, that seeing links where none can be proven is a fault of the mind, a glitch in your thinking, something broken that ought to be fixed. Through school, you were immersed in a worldview built from facts, laws, and concrete outcomes. You were trained to understand life as a machine governed by cause and effect. If it could not be replicated under controlled conditions, it was dismissed as unreal. In this system, the strange timing of a dream, a sudden inner knowing, a perfectly placed symbol appearing at the right moment, these were to be ignored. You were taught to override them, to stay within the safe boundaries of what could be proven. But the signs did not stop arriving. You continued to encounter familiar numbers, names echoed through unexpected places, themes cycled back like whispers from the fabric of your life. And when you voiced these experiences, others told you it was nothing. They labeled it coincidence. And you learned to believe them, not because you truly agreed, but because belief is often a necessity of fitting in. In a world that ridicules the strange, it is safer to conform than to risk being seen as unbalanced. So you quieted your questions. You folded your wonder into silence. You put on the mask of logic and joined the march of those who see life as random and empty of deeper connection. This is no accident. The systems around you depend on predictability. They encourage you to focus on what can be counted and sold. If you begin to follow mystery, if you trust the moments that transcend explanation, you become unpredictable. You become harder to direct, harder to manage. And so you are taught to shut it down, to dismiss the uncanny as mental error, to scoff at the moments of deep alignment as fantasy. They told you it was all in your mind, but they were wrong. Your mind was not tricking you. It was trying to wake you. You are not imagining the patterns. You are perceiving something real, a hidden architecture that interweaves mind and matter. Some truths remain too delicate for mainstream conversation. That is why those who seek deeper insight often turn to places of quieter wisdom. The idea of meaningful coincidence was never intended to go mainstream. For once you see the world through this lens, the old rules no longer bind you. You begin to sense when life itself is arranging events to guide you. You stop perceiving yourself as a helpless pawn in a chaotic game. You begin to glimpse your place within a living intelligence, vast, ancient, precise. This does not mean every event carries cosmic significance, but it means you have awakened to the possibility that meaning waits beneath the surface of every moment. You are no longer trapped in the illusion of meaningless randomness. You have begun to see. The reason you lost this ability was not because it disappeared. It was trained out of you, but any training can be undone. What you need is not new learning, but a remembering of what was already within you before the world taught you to forget. You were not designed to drift through life asleep. You were born to notice the signs placed in your path, to follow them toward a truth uniquely meant for you. The psychologist Carl Jung once remarked that synchronicity is an ever-present reality for those who have eyes to see. He meant this literally. Jung was not merely a thinker, he was an explorer of the hidden depths of the human psyche and the cosmos beyond. When he introduced the idea of synchronicity, he wasn't explaining odd coincidences away. He was revealing a fundamental law of existence, that the inner world of thought and emotion is mirrored by the outer world of events and symbols. Through his work, Jung noticed something astonishing. His patients often reported life experiences that unfolded in patterns too meaningful to dismiss. A woman might dream of a golden beetle, only to witness one appear at her window in the midst of recounting the dream. A man confronting a critical life choice might encounter a repeating symbol in dreams, in books, in chance conversation, guiding him when logic could not. Jung realized these were not hallucinations. They were the psyche's way of breaking through the barriers of conscious thought to deliver guidance. The universe itself seemed to collaborate with the unconscious mind. He called this meaningful coincidence, not luck, but alignment. Synchronicity does not emerge at random. It appears when the unconscious is stirred into motion, when it seeks to speak across the threshold of ordinary experience. Jung also believed that our inner minds are shaped by archetypes, ancient symbolic patterns that shape our behaviors and experiences. These archetypes exist beneath personal memory. They emerge in myths, in dreams, in the characters we meet in life. They form a living bridge between the individual psyche and the universal field. When an archetype is activated, the external world begins to mirror this inner shift. A familiar symbol appears repeatedly. A story unfolds in your life that reflects a timeless myth. A meeting or a challenge arises with uncanny timing. These moments are not accidents. They are the outer world echoing the inner transformation. The more conscious you become of your inner landscape, the more vividly you will perceive the world reflecting it back to you. Think of the times when events seem to align with perfect precision. When a person you were thinking of called out of the blue. When an answer appeared just as you reached the depths of uncertainty. When a symbol or phrase seemed to call you back from the brink of despair. These were not mistakes of perception. They were points of contact with a deeper intelligence, invitations to move beyond the mechanical view of life. But because we have been trained to deny these experiences, many dismiss them as illusion. Science once rejected what it could not explain, but even now the frontier of scientific understanding is moving closer to what mystics have long known. Quantum physics, for example, reveals that at the smallest scales of reality, the universe is not made of solid objects, but of vibrating fields. Particles appear to be connected across vast distances in ways that defy classical explanation. Observation itself changes what is observed. The boundary between subject and object dissolves. These discoveries echo the ancient insight that the universe is a living, responsive whole. Your mind is not isolated. Your consciousness shapes the field in which you dwell. Synchronicities arise from this interconnection. They are not magic. They are the natural language of a responsive universe. Each synchronistic event is a moment when the deeper currents of life reach into your awareness to deliver meaning. When you align with this understanding, life begins to change. You cease to see yourself as a passive victim of chance. You recognize that the outer world responds to the inner world. Your thoughts, your emotions, your focused attention all resonate within the larger field of experience. What you hold within begins to shape what you encounter without. This is why periods of deep personal transformation often coincide with an increase in synchronistic experiences. As you release old patterns, heal wounds, and pursue your authentic calling, the world responds with signs. You are shown that you are on the right path, that the universe is listening and collaborating. These are not random occurrences. They are affirmations that you are moving in harmony with a greater flow. And the more you notice, the more you open yourself to the conversation. Synchronicity is not passive. It invites your participation. It calls you to pay attention, to respond, to trust the guidance you receive. If you ignore the signs long enough, they may fade. Not because the universe stops speaking, but because you have turned away from listening. The relationship is dynamic. It requires your openness, your courage to follow where the signs lead. Your consciousness is not a byproduct of the brain. It is a field of intelligence in constant dialogue with the larger field of reality. Each synchronicity is a reflection of this interplay. It shows you where alignment is strong or where growth is needed. When you begin to move in awareness of this conversation, your life shifts from a sequence of unrelated events to a coherent story, one shaped by your soul and echoed by the world around you. The universe does not communicate through ordinary language. It speaks through patterns, through symbols, through perfect timing. And the astonishing part is that this dialogue is happening constantly. Yet most people move through their lives unaware, believing themselves trapped in solitude, disconnected from any larger intelligence. They think their thoughts are private, their struggles unnoticed. But those who begin to wake up to the rhythm of life soon learn otherwise. They start to see how, at the exact moment they needed encouragement, an unexpected message arrived. They notice how just when they were ready to give up, a breakthrough appeared. When they were about to turn off the path meant for them, something subtle but undeniable pulled them back. This quiet conversation is what we call synchronicity. It is the language of spirit, the way in which the deeper intelligence of life communicates with those who are ready to listen. You will not hear this language with your ears. You will not see it with your eyes alone. You feel it. It is that sense that something is significant even when it defies rational explanation. It is the moment when a book opens to the exact passage you needed. When a stranger speaks words that mirror your innermost thoughts, these are not hallucinations. They are contact points between you and the larger living field. And this understanding is not limited to modern psychology or mystical thought. Across countless ancient traditions, this same truth has echoed. In ancient Egypt, dreams and symbols were seen as sacred messages from beyond. In the spiritual practices of India, divine timing is recognized as more than clock time. It is a sacred alignment of events. Many indigenous cultures teach that nature itself is alive and aware, that animals, the weather, the land itself are voices within this grand conversation. Even in the religious stories of the West, the same themes arise. angels appearing at the perfect moment, visions guiding individuals toward destiny. The language may differ. The core message remains the same. You are not alone in an indifferent universe. You are immersed in a world that listens, that responds, that is capable of guiding you if you are willing to receive the guidance. And it is not random when these signs appear. They often come during times of inner awakening, when your old life is breaking down and a new path is calling you forward. Many people report an increase in synchronistic experiences when they are about to leave behind toxic relationships, pursue their true purpose, or step away from roles and identities that no longer fit them. The louder you live in alignment with your authentic self, the louder life speaks in return. Not because it suddenly starts to care, but because you have finally tuned yourself to the conversation. The signs were always present. You simply were not listening. And still, even now, many ignore these messages, not out of disbelief, but because they have lost trust in their own inner knowing. They have been taught to rationalize away what they feel. But Spirit does not speak in equations. It speaks in resonance. It speaks through dreams, through music, through the electricity of a moment that feels charged with unseen significance. When you stop asking yourself, "Is this real?" and instead ask, "What is this showing me?" the world opens, the dialogue deepens, the meaning becomes clear. And though some signs will come as gentle whispers, others will shake your very foundation. A missed flight that prevents disaster, an illness that forces necessary stillness, a loss that strips away all that is false so that the truth can emerge. Not every synchronicity feels good. Some carry the pain of necessary transformation. But in every case, the message is clear. Change is needed. Growth is being called forth. It is time to align with who you are becoming. And once you begin to treat these events as messages, not as superstitions, but as communication, you begin to move differently through life. You begin to ask for guidance with sincerity and listen for the answers with humility. You notice how in the small details of your day, life is speaking to you. And in this way, trust becomes your guide, not because it eliminates risk or guarantees comfort, but because it connects you with a wisdom far greater than fear. You were never meant to walk this life alone. You were always meant to move in rhythm with what is unseen, to awaken in an ordinary moment and realize it was never ordinary at all. Yet so many live trapped in the belief that life happens to them, that the world is an external force to which they can only react. This belief creates a passive existence, robbing people of the ability to shape their reality. The deeper truth is far more empowering. Your consciousness influences what unfolds around you. The outer world mirrors the inner one. Not the persona you present to others, but your true inner state. Synchronicities are not random events, they are feedback, revealing what you are holding inside. The emotions, thoughts, and intentions you carry resonate into the field of life, drawing experiences that reflect your inner reality. This is why you will notice certain people appearing again and again at critical moments, or why patterns in life repeat until their underlying lessons are faced. Moments of insight and healing will often coincide with synchronistic breakthroughs, not because the outer world is changing independently, but because your inner alignment is shifting the field itself. This understanding dissolves the false line between coincidence and creation. You no longer feel like a spectator in life's play. You step into your role as an active co-creator. But this is not about controlling every detail. Rather, it is about cultivating sustained awareness, emotional resonance, and a belief system that opens you to meaning. If you focus constantly on fear, you will encounter reasons to be afraid. If you anchor in curiosity and presence, synchronicities will become visible because you will be tuned to notice them. Your perception filters what life reveals. The more you attune your awareness, the more aligned your experiences become. This is why periods of major life change often bring an increase in synchronistic events. Healing, pursuing one's soul path, or breaking free from societal expectations shifts your energy, attracting new experiences. The universe responds when you signal readiness. But synchronicity is not something to pursue forcefully. It is something to notice, to allow. The deeper you participate in this dialogue, the more life mirrors your conscious state. And when you ignore these signs, they do not disappear. Your awareness simply closes to them. The relationship with life's intelligence is interactive. It requires presence, reflection, and a willingness to evolve. Your consciousness is not secondary to your life. It is the architect of it, and synchronicity is the language through which the universe points out where the architecture is aligned and where it is not. By listening, you step into conscious creation. You begin to experience events not as random, but as precise and meaningful. Presence becomes essential, for in distraction and disconnection, signs are missed. But when you ground yourself in the moment, you begin to see how the seemingly mundane is rich with meaning. A person you meet unexpectedly, a sentence that seems to jump from the page, an inner prompting you almost ignored. These are not chance. They are invitations from the larger field to pay attention, to respond. Consciousness flows through reality itself, and as yours comes into harmony with life's deeper rhythm, synchronicity becomes your compass. For centuries, spirituality and science were placed in separate realms, one focused on faith, the other on facts. But that separation is now crumbling. At the heart of this convergence lies quantum physics, a field of study that, despite its scientific rigor, points to a universe far stranger and more connected than we ever imagined. When we look into the quantum realm, we find that reality is not fixed or solid. It is fluid, dynamic, deeply responsive. At this level, particles that have once interacted remain connected across vast distances. A change in one affects the other instantly, regardless of physical separation. Einstein himself called this spooky action at a distance, yet it is now a proven reality. If this is true of particles, why not of thoughts? Of consciousness itself? In this light, synchronicity becomes more understandable. Events that seem disconnected on the surface may in fact be entangled at a deeper level, not through direct cause and effect, but through resonance. Quantum physics and ancient wisdom both suggest that reality is not composed of isolated objects, but of relationships and waves of potential. You are not a fixed entity moving through a static world. You are a field of awareness interacting with a larger field of possibilities. And when you shift your own frequency through intention, emotion, clarity, you do not merely change how you feel. You alter what you attract. You change what seeks you out. Synchronicities, then, are not glitches in some impersonal machine. They are the universe flexing to reflect the deeper harmonics of your inner state. And quantum insights go further still, showing that time itself is not the rigid progression we once believed. The past and the future may coexist in ways we are only beginning to understand. This aligns with spiritual teachings that describe divine timing as a frequency, one you must match, to access the next stage of your path. Have you ever felt as though you were in exactly the right place at the right time, as though the moment was waiting for you? This is not fantasy. It is reality unfolding in accordance with a deeper order. And the famous double-slit experiment, where observation alters the behavior of particles, reveals something profound. The observer shapes reality. You do not merely witness the world, you participate in its unfolding. When your awareness shifts, when your beliefs evolve, when your intentions clarify, The world around you responds. Events reorganize, patterns align, the signs begin to appear. Yet this conversation remains subtle. Synchronicities do not shout, they whisper. They invite your attention gently. In a culture addicted to noise, silence becomes a gateway to hearing them. Stillness becomes the key to seeing what others overlook. Science is not erasing mystery. It is beginning to validate it. The quantum field is not an abstract concept. It is the very medium in which you live and breathe. The same field that binds atoms and stars connects your thoughts with your experiences, your dreams with your destiny. Once you understand this, synchronicity ceases to seem strange. It becomes natural, inevitable. Because when science and spirit meet, they reveal a universe far more connected, conscious, and responsive than we have been taught to believe. And this understanding changes everything. You stop feeling like a pawn of chance. You recognize yourself as an active participant in a grand, mysterious dance. The universe is listening, life is paying attention, and you, through your awareness, your choices, your trust, are a vital part of this living conversation. One of the most common misunderstandings about synchronicity is the idea that if life sends you signs, then everything must be predetermined. That your path is rigidly written and free will is somehow an illusion. But this is a misconception. Synchronicity does not remove your freedom of choice. It amplifies it. It does not lock you into a fixed script. Instead, it offers you points of alignment where you can choose, consciously and openly, to move in resonance with the deeper current of your life. Each synchronistic event is an invitation, not an order. It is the universe placing a breadcrumb on your path, offering you the chance to lean in, to notice, to ask yourself if you will follow or ignore this subtle guidance. You are never forced. You are invited to participate. And the nature of time itself is far more fluid than we often assume. We have been taught to think of the past as behind us, the future as ahead, and the present as the thin space where we move forward. But this is an illusion of perception. Both mystics and modern physicists suggest that time is layered, dimensional, a field through which consciousness navigates, not a straight line. In this field, your soul is not simply marching forward. It is interacting with possibilities, patterns, and potentials that already exist. Often, synchronicities arise from this strange dance between moments. A future version of yourself may be reaching back through signs to nudge you toward a needed choice. Decisions from your past may send ripples forward, creating moments of uncanny significance in the present. And sometimes, all of it converges in a single instant that feels charged, alive, unmistakably guided. These are the moments when life feels electric, when a conversation changes everything, or an encounter feels destined, or a coincidence leaves you breathless with the sense that something vast and unseen has just brushed against your reality. These are not tricks of the mind. They are threshold moments where your soul is aligning with a path it has been longing to walk. Yet even in these moments, you remain free. No one forces your hand. You can ignore the sign, rationalize it away, delay your choice, and life will not punish you for that, but it will continue trying. The signs will return. The conversation will persist. The universe will patiently rearrange the scenery again and again, presenting you with new opportunities to listen, to align. And when you do choose to pay attention, everything changes. Your awareness becomes the key that unlocks the pattern. You begin to see not a fixed destiny, but a resonance you can move toward or away from. Destiny is not some unyielding fate imposed upon you. It is a frequency, a state of alignment between who you truly are and the life that longs to meet you. When you begin to live in harmony with your deeper self, You naturally attract experiences, people, and opportunities that reflect this alignment. Synchronicity becomes more frequent, not because something external is controlling you, but because you are finally vibrating in tune with your own essence. You are no longer pushing against the current of your life. You are flowing with it. Think back to those rare moments when everything seemed to come together effortlessly, when doors opened without struggle, when a bold choice, though uncertain, felt undeniably right. These were not accidents. They were signs that you were moving in resonance with the deeper intelligence of life, and the more you trust this process, the more such moments begin to multiply. But trust does not mean passivity. Synchronicity asks you to act, to respond, to engage consciously. The sign may come, but it is up to you to follow it. This is not about surrendering your agency. It is about becoming a collaborator with life itself. And this collaboration brings profound responsibility. When you realize that life is speaking to you moment by moment, you cannot remain asleep. You begin to see that you are not waiting to be rescued. You are being invited to co-create your path, to walk in step with the unseen intelligence that guides all things. This is where free will and destiny meet, not in opposition, but in harmony. Destiny offers the coordinates. Free will chooses the route. Synchronicity is the flashing light that tells you when you are on track. The more you embrace this way of living, the more it transforms your choices. You stop forcing outcomes. You stop settling for what no longer resonates. You start choosing based on alignment, even when the path ahead is not fully visible. And when uncertainty arises, you learn to trust the next step, not because it makes logical sense, but because it feels true in your deepest knowing. This is not a path of ease. It is a path of presence. You will still face challenges. You will still encounter pain. But you will move through these experiences with a compass grounded in something greater than fear. You will begin to recognize that every challenge contains guidance, that even the painful synchronicities, the difficult losses, the sudden disruptions carry the message that growth is required, that a new path is opening. And when you honor these moments, you step into a life of deeper alignment. At certain points in life, you will encounter what can be called checkpoints, milestones where you feel an undeniable click, a moment of strange clarity. You may not have realized you were approaching one until you arrive. Suddenly everything feels different. A cycle has ended. A new one is beginning. And it does not feel accidental. It feels orchestrated. These checkpoint moments are not random. They are built into the navigational system of your life. If you are paying attention, they will guide you toward your highest path. They often arise when you have outgrown a particular phase of life, when the career that once fulfilled you begins to feel hollow, when a relationship that once felt expansive now confines you, when routines that once offered comfort begin to feel like cages. In these in-between spaces, life may feel stuck, flow may seem absent, and just when you are about to force a decision or give up, the sign appears. A phone call, a line overheard in conversation, a seemingly random encounter. In that instant, something shifts inside you. You feel it. A deep recognition that this is not mere chance, it is guidance. These signs arrive with perfect timing, not too soon, not too late. They align not with your ego's schedule, but with your soul's growth. And often, they come with a choice. Will you cling to the familiar, or will you step into the unknown? The signs will not force you. They will simply offer the map. The choice remains yours. What makes these moments so powerful is their dual nature. The external world delivers something, a symbol, a face, a phrase, and it lands inside you with the weight of a revelation. You feel seen, not by other people, but by reality itself. The sign speaks the private language of your consciousness. It resonates in a way no one else may fully understand. That is how you know it is real. And once you begin to live in this way, the conversation deepens. You no longer wait for rare lightning bolts of synchronicity. You begin to notice its presence in the rhythm of your daily life. You see the patterns that others overlook. You trust alignment over certainty. And in doing so, life begins to unfold in a way that feels guided, rich with meaning. Your life is not a series of disconnected events. It is a dynamic map shaped by your soul's unfolding. Synchronicities are the markers on that map. They do not dictate every step, but they show you where you are. And sometimes that simple confirmation, that cosmic nod that says, yes, this is the path, is all you need. In a world obsessed with logic and control, these subtle confirmations may feel like magic, but they are not magic. They are reminders that you are in dialogue with life itself, and the more you act on the signs you receive, the stronger the conversation becomes, not because the universe is testing you, but because you are tuning your awareness to its language. And never underestimate the power of asking. You do not need elaborate rituals. You do not need to force the process. You need sincerity. Ask for guidance, not as a test, but as a conversation. Be clear in your request, then release your expectations about how the answer will arrive. Signs rarely come in the forms we imagine. More often they appear through the unexpected, the overlooked. That is part of the mystery. And when the sign comes, trust the feeling. You will know it. Not with your logical mind, but with a deep resonance in your being. That spark of knowing is not delusion. It is your inner world recognizing its reflection in the outer one. And when you follow that knowing, when you act on it, the dialogue continues to deepen. Synchronicity is not something to chase. It is something to notice. It is already woven through your life, waiting to be seen. And once you begin this practice, not as superstition, but as cultivated awareness, you will never again see the world as random. You will walk through it as a participant in a living field of meaning. There comes a point in this journey where synchronicity no longer feels like an occasional gift, a rare flash of magic in an otherwise mechanical world. Instead, it begins to feel like the natural state of life itself. Not because the universe suddenly changes, but because you have changed. Your awareness has sharpened. Your presence has deepened. You have grown quiet enough within to hear the subtle music that has always been playing beneath the surface noise. You stop needing dramatic signs to believe you are being guided. You no longer crave certainty in the old way, that inner tug, that gentle prompting to pause, to move, to speak, or to remain silent becomes enough. You trust it, you listen, and in doing so, your way of living shifts from one rooted in control and prediction to one grounded in presence, trust, and alignment. At this stage, synchronicity ceases to be something you observe from the outside. It becomes part of who you are, woven into how you walk through life. You begin each day not by demanding answers, but by asking a quieter question. What is life inviting me toward today? And that simple shift in orientation changes everything. It moves you from being a passive consumer of experience to an active co-creator in a living conversation with the universe. You start to see beauty in places you once hurried past. You feel meaning in moments others might dismiss. You no longer need to explain everything in words. You trust the language of resonance, of felt truth, and as you embody this way of being, others begin to notice. They may not understand it consciously, but they feel something in your presence, a grounded calm, an openness, a quiet joy. They ask how you remain centered when the world seems chaotic. how you know when to take bold steps, how you trust the unknown. And perhaps you will share the truth. You stopped fighting the current. You started listening to the signs. Living in this way does not make you immune to difficulty. It does not remove pain from your life, but it gives you a compass, a deep inner knowing that even when things fall apart, there is guidance in the unraveling. You begin to see that every experience, even the painful ones, contains a seed of meaning. That loss can clear space for something new. That endings can mark the doorway to greater wholeness. That sometimes the moments that seem like setbacks are in fact sacred recalibrations, steering you back to alignment. When synchronicity becomes your way of life, your decisions change. You no longer choose based on fear or the approval of others. You choose based on what resonates with your soul's truth. And when you do not yet see the full path, you trust the next step, because that is how the path reveals itself, not through certainty, but through presence, through one step of trust at a time. You begin to build a life that feels true from the inside out, a life that is not just impressive to others, but deeply aligned with who you really are. And this kind of life is not loud. It does not shout for attention. It may appear very ordinary from the outside. You go to work, you pay your bills, you engage in daily routines, but inside everything is different. You move with a different awareness. You listen to a different rhythm. And those closest to you will feel this difference. They may not understand it, but they will sense it. They will ask how you remain at peace amid uncertainty, how you know when to leap and when to wait. And if you choose, you can tell them, you are not alone in this life. You are walking in conversation with something vast and wise. You are allowing life to guide you through signs and symbols, through resonance and deep intuition. When you live in this way, synchronicity no longer feels rare. It becomes the current beneath your days. You begin to notice how each moment is layered with meaning, how each encounter carries potential. You stop moving through life on autopilot. You awaken to the sacredness of now. And this way of living brings great humility. You stop pretending you have all the answers. You stop needing to control every outcome. Instead, you surrender to the deeper flow. You trust that life is wiser than your plans, that there is an intelligence far greater than your mind can grasp, weaving together the threads of your experience. And in that surrender, you find freedom. Not passivity, but true creative freedom. Because when you are in alignment with life, you act with clarity and courage. Synchronicity teaches you that you are not separate from life. You are in constant dialogue with it. Each thought, each feeling, each choice sends ripples into the field of experience. And life responds, not always as you expect, but always in ways that serve your growth and awakening. You begin to see how even moments of apparent randomness carry the fingerprints of deeper intelligence. How even the smallest details can hold profound significance when viewed through the lens of presence. And as you continue to walk this path, your sensitivity to the unseen grows. You start to feel when a choice is aligned or out of tune. You sense when a conversation holds meaning beyond its surface. You trust the moments when life whispers yes through a synchronicity. And you respect the moments when life says wait or not this way. You come to understand that the signs are not here to entertain you. They are here to evolve you, to guide you into deeper authenticity, greater integrity, fuller embodiment of your true self. They are not about escaping the challenges of life, but about meeting them with wisdom and trust. And in this deepening relationship with life, you experience a new kind of faith, not blind belief, but living trust grounded in experience. You know, because you have seen again and again how life responds to your inner alignment. You have witnessed how signs appear precisely when you need them, how guidance arrives through the most unexpected channels, how the universe is not indifferent but intimately aware of your path. The old story that life is random, that meaning is something we impose on a dead world, falls away. You see that life is alive, conscious, responsive, that the same intelligence that moves the stars moves through your life, shaping each moment with exquisite precision. And this knowing humbles you. It softens your heart. It opens you to awe and gratitude. You no longer chase meaning. You receive it. You no longer demand signs. You notice them. You no longer force outcomes. You trust the unfolding. And this trust becomes the ground upon which you stand, even when storms arise. Because you know that even in the darkness, life is guiding you, that even when the path is unclear, the signs will appear when you are ready to see them. And as this trust deepens, you begin to experience a subtle joy, a quiet, abiding sense that you are not walking alone, that life is holding you, guiding you, loving you in ways beyond comprehension. You feel this not as a belief, but as a lived experience. You see it in the patterns of your days. You hear it in the echo of synchronicity. You feel it in the stillness of your heart. And this changes everything. You no longer live as a victim of circumstance. You live as a conscious participant in the dance of life. You walk with reverence, you listen with openness, you act with courage. And in doing so, you create a life of profound meaning and beauty, not because it is free from pain, but because it is rich with purpose. You were never meant to walk this path asleep. You were meant to awaken to the conversation life is always having with you, to remember that you are a part of something vast and sacred, that you are seen, known, and guided, and that every moment, no matter how ordinary it may seem, carries the potential to open a doorway to deeper truth. And if you choose to walk this path, if you choose to say yes to the signs, to trust the unseen, to surrender to the deeper flow, you will discover a life beyond your wildest imagining, a life where each day becomes a sacred unfolding, where each encounter becomes an opportunity for grace, where each choice becomes an act of alignment with the wisdom that moves all things. You do not need to be special to live this way. You do not need to be perfect. You simply need to be willing to listen, to trust, to open your heart to the language of life. And when you do, the conversation will begin, the signs will appear, the guidance will flow, and you will know, beyond all doubt, that you are exactly where you are meant to be. Because life has been speaking to you all along, waiting for you to remember, waiting for you to wake up, waiting for you to say yes.